Right now, somewhere in the world, a mother is getting a phone call that her 19-year-old son isn't coming home from Afghanistan. Right now, a father is sitting in a hospital parking lot trying to figure out how to tell his 8-year-old daughter that mommy has cancer. Right now, someone who thought they had their whole life figured out just got the pink slip, and they're staring at their reflection in their car window, wondering how they're going to make next month's rent. That's suffering, raw, unfiltered, no escape route suffering. The Stoics, these ancient philosophers who lived through plagues that killed half their cities, who watched empires crumble, who buried their children and still found reason to get up the next morning, they had something to say about this. And what they said might just change how you see everything that's ever hurt you. Here's the hard truth. Suffering isn't going anywhere. It's not a problem to be solved or a disease to be cured. It's woven into the very fabric of being alive. The Stoics knew this 2,300 years ago, and it's just as true today as it was when Marcus Aurelius was riding by candlelight in his tent, knowing that half his soldiers might not see another sunrise. But here's what they figured out that most people miss. Suffering isn't the enemy. Avoiding suffering is the enemy. Let me tell you about a man named James Stockdale. Shot down over Vietnam, spent 7 years in a prisoner of war camp, tortured regularly. No idea if he'd ever see his family again. He studied the Stoics before his capture, and those teachings kept him alive when everything else should have broken him. Years later, when asked how he survived, he said something profound. The optimist died first. Wait, what? The optimist died first? Here's what he meant. The guys who kept saying, we'll be out by Christmas, then Christmas came and went. We'll be out by Easter, then Easter came and went. Each broken promise, each false hope, chipped away at their will to live. But Stockdale, he accepted the brutal reality of his situation while maintaining absolute faith that he would ultimately prevail. That's the Stoic way. The Stoics called it the discipline of assent, the practice of seeing things exactly as they are, not as we wish they were, not as we fear they might become, but as they actually are in this moment. And in that clear seeing, something miraculous happens. We stop wasting energy fighting reality and start putting that energy into dealing with reality. Think about a boxer in the ring. The moment he starts flinching from punches that haven't been thrown yet, he's already lost. But the fighter who sees each punch coming, who takes the hit and keeps moving forward, that's the person who walks out of the ring on their own feet. Life is that boxing ring. Suffering is those punches. And most people spend their whole lives flinching from hits that haven't landed yet, or still reeling from hits that happened years ago. Marcus Aurelius buried 13 children. 13. Imagine that kind of loss. Imagine standing at 13 gravesites wondering what kind of cruel universe allows such things. But instead of cursing the gods or drowning in bitterness, he wrote words that still guide people through their darkest hours. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. That's not denial. That's not toxic positivity. That's the recognition that while we can't control what happens to us, we have absolute sovereignty over what we do with what happens to us. Here's a story that'll hit you right in the chest. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps, lost his wife, his parents, his brother, everything stripped away except one thing, his ability to choose his response to his circumstances. In the camps, he noticed something profound. The prisoners who survived weren't necessarily the physically strongest or the most optimistic. They were the ones who found meaning in their suffering. Frankl watched men give away their last piece of bread to other prisoners, choosing compassion over survival. He saw people maintain their humanity in the most inhumane conditions imaginable. And he realized that suffering without meaning is just torture, but suffering with meaning becomes transformation. The Stoics understood this 2,000 years before Frankl put it into words. They knew that pain is inevitable, but meaning is optional. And when we find meaning in our pain, something alchemical happens. The very thing that should destroy us becomes the thing that makes us who we're meant to be. Let's talk about failure for a minute. Real failure, not the Instagram version where someone posts a perfectly curated failure story that ends with them making millions. Real failure, the kind that keeps you awake at 3 a.m. questioning every decision you've ever made. Thomas Edison didn't just fail a few times before inventing the light bulb, he failed over 10,000 times. But he never saw those as failures, he saw them as 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. Each failure was information, data, getting him closer to the solution. That's the Stoic mindset in action. Every setback is set up. Every loss is a lesson in disguise. Every moment of pain is asking us one simple question: what are you going to do with this? Because here's what the Stoics knew that our comfort-obsessed culture has forgotten. Easy doesn't build character. Comfortable doesn't create strength. Safe doesn't develop wisdom. Look at any person you truly admire. Not the social media version of admiration, but genuine respect for someone's character, their strength, their wisdom. Look at their story. You won't find a biography of ease. You'll find a story of struggle, of overcoming, of taking whatever life threw at them and turning it into something beautiful. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team. Steve Jobs got fired from the company he founded. Oprah grew up in poverty, faced abuse, was told she was unfit for television news because she was too emotionally invested in her stories. Every single one of them used their pain as fuel. But here's where most people get it wrong. They think the Stoic approach means becoming emotionally numb, shutting down, turning into some kind of robot. That's not Stoicism, that's emotional suicide. Real Stoicism means feeling everything fully, but not being controlled by those feelings. It means acknowledging that yes, this hurts, yes, this is unfair, yes, this isn't what we wanted, and then asking, now what? What's the next right action? How do we move forward from here? Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, was also one of the wealthiest men in Rome. He lost fortunes, gained them back, faced exile, lived through political upheaval. He wrote these words that should be tattooed on every person's soul. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Think about that mother who lost her son in Afghanistan. The end of her dreams for his future, the end of birthday celebrations and Christmas mornings and wedding dances, but also potentially the beginning of her work with Gold Star families, the beginning of her advocacy for veterans, the beginning of a legacy that honors her son's sacrifice by helping others who walk that same dark path. The end of one story can be the beginning of another, more meaningful story. Here's what the Stoics understood about human nature. We're not fragile. We think we are, but we're not. We're anti-fragile. We don't just survive stress and trauma. We can actually get stronger because of it, but only if we choose to. A muscle that's never challenged doesn't grow. A bone that's never stressed becomes brittle. A person who's never faced adversity has no idea what they're capable of when the real tests come. The Stoics practice something called voluntary discomfort, deliberately choosing hardship in small doses to build resilience for when involuntary hardship showed up. They'd sleep on the floor sometimes, eat simple foods, walk in bad weather, not because they were masochists, but because they understood that comfort is a drug, and like any drug, it makes you weak if you depend on it. Every person watching this has a choice to make right now. You can keep running from discomfort, keep trying to build a life where nothing ever goes wrong, keep believing that happiness means the absence of problems. Or you can embrace the Stoic path, the path that says problems aren't obstacles to a meaningful life, they're the raw material of a meaningful life. Your divorce isn't just an ending, it's information about what you really need in a relationship. Your job loss isn't just a setback, it's a chance to discover what you're really meant to do with your talents. Your illness isn't just bad luck, it's a teacher showing you what really matters and what's just noise. The Stoics had a practice called memento mori, remember death. Not to be morbid, but to remember that this life is temporary, this pain is temporary, this moment, whatever it contains, is all we really have. And when we truly accept the temporary nature of everything, including our suffering, we stop wasting time asking, why me? And start asking, what now? Marcus Aurelius wrote these words while leading an empire and fighting wars and dealing with plagues. Confine yourself to the present. Not because the past doesn't matter or the future isn't worth planning for, but because the present moment is where our power lives. The present moment is where we make the choice that defines who we become. Right now, someone is using their pain to fuel their purpose. Right now, someone is taking their worst day and turning it into their why. Right now, someone is proving that suffering isn't the end of their story, it's the plot twist that makes their story worth telling. The Stoics knew something that every person who's ever overcome anything knows. You don't get through suffering by going around it or over it or under it. You get through it by going through it. You feel it fully, you learn from it completely, and then you use it deliberately. That's not just philosophy, that's practical wisdom for anyone who's tired of being a victim of their circumstances and ready to become the author of their response to their circumstances. The question isn't whether you'll suffer. You will. The question is whether you'll let that suffering break you or make you, whether you'll use it as an excuse or as fuel, whether you'll see it as evidence that life is meaningless or as proof that your life has meaning worth fighting for. The Stoics chose meaning every single time. Now, it's your turn to choose.